In this video, you'll learn how to set up this button design. So this button has a border and a graphic icon with a solid background spanning the height of the button. So this setup will work also for the headline element or any element with a graphic icon option and a content flex layout. So like the navigation inline element here. So let's now replicate the top button here, the full width button. So let's add a new section. Let's add a button element. So now we'll set this button to 100% width, and later in the video I'll show you how to set up a button with a border radius like this. But this has a drawback. If you have a high contrast colors here, like this blue on white design, you see this little white strip between the graphic icon background and the button's border. It's not really visible if you have a low contrast design like this black on gold setup or design. So for now we'll just set up a button with no border radius. So let's go to button design and let's turn off the border radius by setting everything to 0. Let's also turn off the box shadow, and we'll set up the border. So solid, maybe 3 pixels. Color of the border, let's color it, we'll use the global colors here that I've set up previously. So now let's add the graphic. So you can see the default setup here. Let's turn on the graphic, and let's configure first the background, its interaction, and the icon's color. Also the interaction. And by default the text and icon are centered. Let's now choose an icon, search for info. That will do. And let's set the width of the back of the icon, and let's set the height first, but we'll later override this with CSS. So to separate the icon and the text, you go back to button design, and then under content flex layout horizontal, you choose space between. And if you want the text to be in the left side and icon on the right side, you just enable the reverse layout. And now there's a space around the icon, and that is because of the button's padding. So let's set everything to 0. There's still a space left, and that is from the graphic margin. So let's turn the graphic margin to 0. There's still space left, and that is because of the, let's inspect this using the dev tools, and that is because of the line height of the buttons wrapper here is coming from the stack CSS. If we set this line height to 0, that will eliminate the space. So if you want this, you can copy this CSS and go to button, customize, and element CSS. Paste that in, and just apply the line height like that. But let's remove this first, or just comment this out. So you'll later see that you don't need that CSS if we set this the height to the graphics background height to 100%, or the graphics container. And if you also notice here, the right hand side of the graphic is wider than the left side, and that is because of the buttons border in addition to the buttons width. So we need to eliminate the right border of the button. So let's go to button design again, and let's unlink the sides, and I'm sorry, it should be the border. So let's unlink the border sides, and the right side, we need this to be 0. So as you can see now, the button here is centered, or the left and right space are equal. So let's eliminate the space of this now. So we go again to button, customize, and element CSS, and let's target this specific button. Let's enter the graphic icon selector or class, and we say height 100%. Let's add the important declaration here, because we're actually overriding the graphic icon height option here. The button disappeared because we need to set the content flex layout vertical. Let's set this to stretch. So now to space out the button, or to set the button's height, we need to use the text margin. So here's the text margin here. Let's unlink this, set the top margin and the bottom margin. And to center the text, you set the right value here to auto, and copy that to the left, so that will center the text. And then let's just increase the size of the text. And let's just add some more text here. let's add a secondary text. And let's increase the secondary text font size, and for the spacing, let's try a text align. You just text align here because this text, the space is controlled by the primary text, so you can text align center the secondary text. So that's it for the setup, and now we can proceed with a border radius. So let's duplicate this setup. Let's just add a button margin here, bottom margin, space them out, and let's enable the border radius of this second button. Set this to 1, and as you can see, there's a little white space here, and let's try to fix that. Let's check if what's causing this. So maybe let's use this X anchor content selector. And that doesn't fix the issue here. And for this setup, you need to manually match. Let's try inheriting the, nope, this won't work. So you need to manually match the border radius like this. So let's try increasing the buttons border radius. So if we increase, you also need to increase the X anchor content border radius. Let's use EMs. It's not matched, maybe 2. It's too much, so it's between 1 and 2. So let's try 1.5, and 1.5 looks perfect. So let's see if let's convert this layout to 2 columns. So as you can see, this setup also works in 2 columns. Sure what happened there. the button disappeared, and let's actually switch to skeleton mode. Maybe a glitch. So as you can see, this setup works also with longer text, but let's just copy the text here to see what will happen. There's an additional setup in this button, so we'll see what happens if there's longer text. So as you can see here, the text is now aligned left. Let's go to text setup, and to fix this you need to enable the text align center, and to space this out we need to set the text margin to percentage value here. Oops. So let's set the top margin again, bottom, and for the right value we need to set this to percentage, because if a fixed value won't work here. And the right and left value must be equal to center this out. So that's it for the setup. Hope that helps. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon to get notified if there's a new video.